Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. I'm here. I am thinking I'm all smart. Oh, we're gonna have a good start. We got the music is going and everything, and I forget to turn the mic on. Good grief, guys! Let's stay focused. We got a PCE here in 2 minutes. Okay, very important number. U.S. core PCE price index month over month. They're looking for a reading of spot 1 versus a previous reading of spot 2, and then we can talk about what I know you are all thinking about right now. That debate last night. Well, I have the title says the Emperor has no clothes, but like I feel like that's a kind of a lame title for as explosive and significant of a thing happened last night. My goodness. I just one of the most important moments in US political history. It was just, I still can't believe what I watched last night. Sure. Man. And by the way, good morning, Octavius, Brad, Max. Is that a new? Welcome to the stream. I don't think I've ever said hi to you before. I don't know how to say your name. Namrus, welcome back. He's been consistent all week. And Smitty. All right. Well, so I'm not expecting this PCE to be like super off or anything, but it does have the potential to like really roil the markets. So just keep that in mind, all right? The biggest takeaway was that Biden can play. No, I don't think so. That was my favorite moment of the debate too, though. That was my favorite moment of the debate too. Like that, I know your swing. I've seen your swing. That was probably the funniest kill shot from Trump in a debate I've seen. Like, to me, that was as good as you'd be in jail. Okay, so here's a number. Oh, wow. So really strong move down and then huge jump up. But we are coming back into the middle on this. And what is the number here? Well, the price index. Oh, I'm not getting it yet. Okay. Well, personal income month over month was higher than expected at spot 5 versus spot 4, and spending was less than expected at spot 2 versus spot 3. But we did not get the price index yet. Okay, now we're getting it. It is in line. Spot 1 versus an expected spot 1. So much volume already out before that. Wowzer. Okay, this... I was thinking, hey, maybe we would have a good trade today. I cannot trade that set of economic numbers. That is, frankly, a little confusing. Confusing. I don't know. Maybe I just need to think about it. Okay, so PCE in line. That's good. That's really good because maybe you were hedging that it could be bad. That was a risk, and we got over that risk. And then the other data that we got was kind of suggesting what we were already seeing, which was that like people are still making money, but are suddenly very much pulling back on spending. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I think that that's a net buy for the treasuries. Because that's like slightly recessionary, right? I mean, it's not like huge deal, but it's very much in the same sort of stream that we've been having this month, really, where like you're kind of seeing an economic slowdown, but a lot of confusing order flow off of it and so forth. I'm going to let them do their thing for a little bit. Let's take some notes. PCE in line, personal income up, higher in okay, today we have Chicago PMI. U of M sentiment and expectations. Bowman and Dally last night. So my synopsis right now is stop and go because of so much, but biased upside. We're already getting that. Okay, they are up towards the highs again. So I do think that the debate last night will have a significant impact on the markets this morning. To some extent, that's going to be a buy. To some extent, it's going to be like kind of weird order flow because people are going to want to talk more than they are to trade, you know? Let's see here. Yes, and let's not forget the Chicago PMI. Yeah. Okay, so my indicator here still. Oh, it does not carry over. I think I need to do. There must be some sort of a bug that prevents it from saving, because I'm pretty sure that I had it on there and it's just not showing up yet. So I think Chicago PMI is supposed to be on there, but options expiration. Well, last week was the big expiration, but you know, you always got weekly expirations, I suppose. Okay, so let's see here. What was I going to do? Oh, let's read here. Okay, Herc says, I'm Australian, but I absolutely loved Trump's performance in the debate today. Biden, some room for improvement, but darn, Trump looks fit for presidency for sure. Well, okay, so let's kind of set the framework just in case we have anybody here that did not watch the debate. Okay, well, last night they had the debate and Biden just completely blew it. There was many moments that were complete word salad. I was sitting there like, is he having an aneurysm like on stage? It was just as bad as everybody kind of was fearing and or hoping, depending on whether you were a Democrat or a Republican. Okay, like it wasn't like he collapsed on stage. There was some stuff going on before where it was like, is he like actually gonna have a stroke on stage sort of a thing? Okay, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad, But the moment in particular that I think really set people off was that Joe Biden was talking about the border. And first he said something that kind of like didn't really make a whole lot of sense, basically trying to claim that like there was more border crossings under Trump than under him, which is just kind of silly. And then he ends it with like, we really beat Social Security. So like Social Security had absolutely nothing to do with the question. It had absolutely nothing to do with what he said. And he ends it with Social Security was like, what the heck is going on? And when that happened, the Democrat Party went into full on panic. Okay, there are a lot of conspiracy theories going on now that like this was all planned, and I mean, who knows? How would you even be able to know? I think that the simple explanation is that Joe Biden 2 years ago decided to run. He's been doing everything that he can to become president, and last night, he, was kind of the come to Jesus moment where it became very obvious to even the biggest followers in the Democrat Party that he is simply not fit to be president. And Democrats were making all of the calls and everything. So by the time the debate ended, CNN, like as soon as it ended, the headline on the bottom of the screen on CNN was Democrats concerned about Biden's performance. They were, from the very first moment, and everybody on the CNN panel was like, this is a bad debate for Biden. And almost everybody on the CNN panel was calling for the Democrat Party to replace him as the nominee. So I've never seen, well, obviously I've never seen anything like that, but I was just like, it was so stunning to me because I was like, well, this is a pretty bad debate for Biden. I'm going to be interested to see how the Democrats try and spin this, because they always do. And no, it wasn't that. It was like everybody could see it. Everybody could see him. I was surprised that there was no mic cut. There was actually several mic cutouts. There was this one point I thought was really funny where Biden did not finish what he was saying early enough, and they cut him off, and he was like really jolted and surprised by it. It was kind of funny. Of course, there was also 2 occasions where, Biden gave an answer and finished, and then the moderator was like, Mr. Biden, you still have 45 seconds left. Like, wow. You would think he was having an early onset of dementia with the way he was going off topic half of the time. Well, yeah. There's a point where Biden interrupts Trump with the first words, in 51 years, and if you look closely, you can tell it's a jump cut. I don't know about that. I didn't catch that. And I haven't seen anybody talk about that yet either. But you are correct that they had a delay. There was a 2-minute delay in there. And everybody was like, why would you have a delay during a presidential debate? I don't know if it was a big deal, but would it really be early onset? He's in his 80s. Good grief. Well, so, what is his name? The Daily Show guy? The Daily Show guy, he did a bit after the debate, and his whole bit was like, both of these guys should be using performance enhancing drugs. Because remember, the big narrative going into the debate from the Trump campaign was he should do a drug test. I'm willing to do a drug test. Will he do a drug test? And the Biden campaign declined to do a drug test. And so everybody kind of thought, especially on the right, that, they're going to pump Joe Biden up on drugs and yada, 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 right? And now everybody's saying, well, like, he must not have been on drugs because that was like terrible. I actually believe that he was. I think he was on Aderall. I think that Joe Biden was on Aderall. I can see it in some of his responses and stuff. I think that he was on Adderall and he did not take it early enough, so it was not really working the first part of the debate. But do you notice that Joe Biden was incredibly, like, almost everything that he said was almost sleepy until they got to January 6th and many fine people, Charlottesville stuff, and right, like the only thing that animates Joe Biden is being angry at some of the things that they accuse Donald Trump of. It's actually kind of weird to me that, like, even some of the people on the CNN panel were calling Charlottesville debunked. I was like, oh, finally after like what, 6 years, everybody finally agrees that yeah, the Charlottesville comments were taken out of context. Well, I couldn't believe it, but I digress. It's Joe Biden still believes it. It gets Joe Biden animated, right? And that's when I was like, oh, the Adderall's kicking in. And something that Adderall can make you do is it can kind of get you a little bit like because it's stress. It's adding stress to you. It's adding norepinephrine and dopamine, but it adds norepinephrine as well. And norepinephrine is a precursor to adrenaline. So it will make you a little bit more competitive. Kind of depends on your mood and all of these sorts of things. Like, you can go to from everything's happy and all good, and I'm just like super engaged in whatever I'm doing, but it can also turn into antagonistic. And I kind of felt like that Biden was doing that, which makes me think that he could have been on Adderall, possibly. But anyways, it was not enough. And I mean, that's kind of the issue, is that, like, Adderall might keep you awake, but it doesn't help you in the other things. And like, the thing that's so jarring to me is that this whole week they had all this stuff out in the press and everything about all of the preparation that Joe Biden was doing for the debate. They've been up at Camp David all week. They've had like a mock debate stage set up in the aircraft hangar at Camp David. And they just spent the whole week drilling the debate. And that was the best they come up with. And it was so stunning to me. Like, okay, he made some like word salad and these other kinds of mistakes. He looks old. I don't know if there's really a whole lot that you can do about how old he looks and how frail he looked, especially when he came on stage. That was something that really stuck out to me, was that, like, it was from the very moment that he was on stage, it was like, this guy's too old, right? But okay, so those are maybe some things that you can't necessarily deal with. But the things that you would be dealing with in the debate, like your debate strategy and these sorts of things, and it was absolutely terrible. Like, every time that Donald Trump was talking, Joe Biden was like looking off to the side, like almost, it made him look like he was looking off into space. He had this expression on his face like he had no clue where he was. Donald Trump, he like drills this. You can tell it's like, I need to have this serious face. I need to have this face. Like, he really does really strong animated faces when he's not speaking, and it's like an intentional part of his debate strategy. They didn't have anything like that. And then on top of that, Biden just kept making tactical mistakes, like crazy tactical mistakes. Like, one that stood out to me was on the issue of abortion, because that's like one of the Democrats' best issues right now. People do, in general, Americans do not believe that abortion should be banned. Okay, should it be released to the states? Maybe. Should there be certain restrictions, like you shouldn't be able to abort after a certain amount of time, maybe. Okay, like I think almost everybody agrees that you shouldn't be able to abort a baby in the 3rd trimester, for instance, right? And Joe Biden just completely bungled that. He didn't take it when they asked him the question. He didn't really do anything with it, and then he allowed Trump to turn it into an argument over late-term abortion, and saying, oh, you know, Democrats, they believe in late-term abortion, and then Joe Biden being like, no, that's a lie. I tell you what, all of the people on CNN, they were like, no, that's a lie. It's not a lie. They had a law in Chicago that was basically you can abort up until like the moment of birth, and there are stories, like total legit confirmed stories of one woman in particular that they aborted her. She survived. Her grandma took her to another hospital and she's alive. So don't tell me it's a lie. It happens. But point being, that was like a huge tactical blunder by Joe Biden. He just completely fumbled his best issue and gave it and let Trump define it on his terms and take momentum. And he did that on issue after issue. It was just wild. Have you seen the clip of Jill congratulating him for answering all the questions? No, I didn't see that. Glad they settled. Okay, yeah. So the best part of let's go find it. Let's just go find it. Because I thought it was hilarious. Let's see here. How's that? Turn the volume up. Is it gonna play? Come on, Fox.
Daly says if we get inflation data coming down like last year, again, we can respond.
Okay, so Daly speaking. Man, is it already? I turned the audio off and everything.
That they already feel uncertain.
So of course Slate doesn't have video. The New Republic debate from hell. What is this?
What he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. The reason I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6.
Look at it. Look at Trump's reaction. Like this was like, he couldn't hold his composure anymore. He's like, he just could not believe that this was the direction that Joe Biden was going to go, was to argue that Joe Biden could beat him in golf, essentially.
Down to a 6.
It was like, oh my gosh. Like, okay. Okay.
Bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie, that he's a 6 handicap of all.
How is it?
That he's a 6 handicap.
8. But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
President Trump, we're going to...
Oh my gosh. So first he's like, it's not a 6, and Joe Biden backtracks. But my favorite part is,
I was an 8 handicap. Yeah. 8.
My favorite part right here.
But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing. You swing. I know you swing.
I know you swing. And then the best part. The best part. Not the best part. The second best part.
President Trump.
Let's not act like children about Joe. I just can't, man. Oh, man. That was by far the funniest part of the debate. We're going to argue over who has a better golf. Like, come on. Can Joe Biden even swing a golf club right now? See, if I was running Joe Biden's campaign and Joe Biden was actually in good health, then the first thing that I would be doing is I would be saying, hey, we're going to play golf this morning. That's what I would do. But you're not going to see that. It's not healthy enough. So yeah, the debate went really bad for Joe Biden last night. And like, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if I heard over the news squawk right now something about Joe Biden dropping out, right? Like, it wouldn't surprise me in the least bit. It was that bad. It was that bad. Everybody in the Democrat Party was calling for him to drop out. I don't think that Joe Biden will go willingly. But like the party machinations have started. They are trying to replace him. They're actively trying to replace him. Problem is still, who do you replace him with? Michelle Obama? Okay, maybe. But I tell you what. So here's the thing, like the conspiracy theory. Yeah, the media is all over it. It was really like the Democrats, they made all their calls. They did. So some people are saying this was all a setup, right? That like the plan was always to have Joe Biden do so poorly so that they could switch him out for somebody else. If that was the conspiracy, if there was really such a conspiracy, it was a very poor conspiracy. Because who is going to trust the Democrat Party after that, right? Like, what happened is not just about Joe, man. Like, okay, Joe Biden, he has to drop out, he gets replaced. That it is going to negatively impact everybody down the ticket in the Democrat Party. Because they've been pushing this for 2 years. Like, it was just last week, there was all these guys trying to tell us, oh yeah, Joe Biden's doing cartwheels in the Oval Office and all, like he's in great health. BS. Everybody knows it. Now it's just so clear that really, truly everybody knows it and admits it. And you tried to pull the wool over our eyes for 2 years. Nobody's going to trust the Democrat Party over that. After that, this is a huge problem for the Democrat Party. If he won't quit, this seems like a good way to push him out. Yeah, I mean, and I don't know, like, here's the thing, is that if you can't get Joe to quit, I don't know what you can do. I don't think they can force him. And some conservatives are already talking about court challenges and stuff because, like, you're going to push a nominee that nobody in the primaries voted for. Like, there's some problems with that, right? The play for Dems is for Captain Underpants to resign for health reasons and let Kamala take a run. Oh no, that would be a disaster because her poll numbers are worse than Joe Biden's. So like, let's go back through the options now because this is like a real serious possibility, right? So you got Kamala Harris. Nobody in the party wants Kamala Harris. Everybody in the party hates her now. I mean, like, they kind of disliked her during the primaries, but like since then it's really gotten bad, right? They just really hate her. So if Kamala decided that she was going to make a play, that would be a really big problem too, because she does have a lot of power. She does have a lot of name recognition, and you got to understand that, like, right now in American politics, name recognition is the most potent weapon. If people know who you are, that matters more than almost anything else. Okay, but I don't think that they want her. I don't know if she really wants to be president anymore, so I don't think that one's very likely. So then you get Newsom. Newsom is a known quantity. I think that a lot of Americans are incredibly uncomfortable with Gavin Newsom and what has been going on in California, and he doesn't poll very well either. His polling is not very good either. But Gavin has been kind of like running for it. You know, he was saying, "Oh, I'm not running to be president. Joe Biden's going to do fine." Yada 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 yada. But he has been doing things that's kind of like he is obviously wants to run for president, right? America will be dead if he's president. Yeah, I think Gavin Newsom would be really, really bad for the country. But Gavin is strong, probably the strongest possibility, actually, to be honest. Like, if I was betting, if I had to bet now who would replace him, I think that it would be Gavin Newsom. I think I would probably select Gavin Newsom as the most likely. But it's still kind of like not a very good choice for the Democrats, right? And then the other one that gets thrown out is Michelle Obama. Now that one's an interesting one because Michelle Obama in the beginning of Obama's presidency was extremely unpopular. Like the big thing that she said that, and everybody seems to have forgotten about it, but she's like, when Obama was inaugurated, she said, "This is the first time in my life that I'm proud of my country." People really didn't like that. It's like, you're how old, and this whole time you've hated America? Oh man, that was not a good look for her. And her poll numbers were so bad, and they went and they did like a whole rehabilitation sort of thing, and like got her standing in the American public up. And it's Team Obama, so everybody kind of knows, like, well, you put Michelle in there, Obama's gonna be there helping, you know, make decisions along the way and all of that sort of thing. Michelle keeps saying she wants nothing to do with that, but weirdly it would probably work. Yeah. And I think she's being genuinely about that. She probably doesn't want to be the candidate, but it's probably their best bet right now. I think that the person that's most likely to be selected is Gavin Newsom, but the one that would probably work the best for the Democrat Party would be Michelle Obama. But it would be too weird for people. Like, if I was Michelle Obama, I would tell them no. Like, even if they like straight up tried to pull me in convention and all of that, and it was like going to be a done deal, and all I'd have to do is say yes, I would say no. Just because, like, can you actually win the election? Like, she's their best bet, but like, would she actually win? I don't think so. This is totally why the debate was early. Maybe. So again, we're gonna want to have conspiracy theories about this for sure, right? It's just unavoidable. And any kind of conspiracy theory of that nature, we're not going to have any evidence to be able to prove it. So like, that scenario is just as likely as the simple scenario that, you know, Joe Biden campaign was doing very, very well, and he saw a debate as his best chance to save his campaign, and so they set it up, and then he blew it. But you have to wonder, surely there's people in the Democrat Party that knew that this was the situation, and, you know. Hillary, do you think that they could run Hillary again? I suppose that it is a possibility. I don't think that it would be a very popular one. I don't think it'd be a very popular one. This is a problem in American politics, like, overall. Like, imagine, okay, what if tomorrow Trump died? like, who would the Republicans use to replace Donald Trump? Well, obviously, it would have to be Ron DeSantis from Florida. This is like the only viable choice. It would be DeSantis, because DeSantis was the one that ran against him. It would be DeSantis, and then the next runner-up would be Ted Cruz. And like beyond that, nobody really has the national profile. Vivek Ramaswamy, no, probably not. He doesn't have the widespread name recognition. Only the only us weirdos in the Republican Party that pay attention to everything know who Ramaswamy is, and a lot of Republicans. I personally think Ramaswamy is a scammer, but anyways. Yeah, so name recognition matters more than almost anything in politics right now. And so you really only have like 3 viable candidates on the Republican side. And I'm not sure if they're that great of candidates. Like they have big negatives in a general election. All 3 of those guys do. So like Gavin Newsom is probably, or sorry, not Gavin Newsom. Ron DeSantis is probably the next Republican nominee after Trump, but you know, it's if you really pay attention to local politics, you'll start to see it. It's a super huge problem. So in Utah, there was probably the highest profile primary case that we had going on here was the Senate race to replace Mitt Romney's empty seat. There was the thing going on with the governor, but the guy that was challenging the governor was kind of crazy. He did a couple of things during the campaign that were a little crazy. Like he picked a vice president that didn't really meet the residency requirements. Anyways, I kind of felt that guy was kind of a joke. Okay, but there was many people that were running for Mitt Romney's seat. And one of them was a guy that's already in the House of Representatives. And conservatives don't like. He is kind of like a rhino. They say that he's a rhino. But the problem is that because he's already a representative, he has the name recognition. So the first time that this guy ran, well, sorry, I forget his name. I can't even remember his name now. John Curtis. And he ran against a Trump-backed Republican who I didn't think was super great, but like, so the first time that Curtis ran for office, it was like hyper close. It was super, super, super close. And he won. And there was a lot of controversy over it and everything like that. And you'll notice, like, every time that there's one of those races and like one guy wins, and then the next time he'll win by more, and then the next time he'll win by more, and the next time he'll win by more. And that's what's happening with Curtis. To the point where, because I don't think that most Utahns are in line with Curtis and like what he's doing. But he has the name recognition, and that matters more than anything. And that's what's happening in our politics today, is that the name recognition is such a huge factor that it puts a huge limiter on who you can actually get in office. Basically, the people that you really want to be in office, the people that are like policy wonks and really skilled at leadership and kind of, you know, slowly build up their resume. They're a mayor, they're a governor, yada, yada, yada. And then you're on the national stage and you become president, and they can be a good president because they've built the skills to be able to do it and everything. Like, it's harder to get those guys into office because of the name recognition. And now it is like, it's easier to become president from being a social reality star, right? DeSantis needs bigger heels. That, you know, I keep seeing those images on Reddit where they're trying to claim that he's short and that he's wearing heels, but like all of the images that they draw that are like, see, look, he's wearing heels and everything, look stupid to me, and I don't buy it. Yeah, Predict It has Trump winning Wisconsin big now. Well, did you see? So first of all, Predict It is not really a real market anymore, unfortunately. There was one particular call that they, or race or whatever that they made that people were upset about, and then there was like regulation problems, and essentially there's not a lot of volume on Predict It anymore. So I would be really cautious about making big conclusions about what we see on Predict It, but it's all we got. There's not like really an alternative market, but you can just see here like Biden's chances at winning the presidency just like absolutely cratered. Look at that, just absolutely cratered. Interestingly enough, Biden's decline did not go to Donald Trump completely. I mean, Trump went from 53 to 61 cents, but it's Newsom picks up. So the market is anticipating, as I kind of gamed out there for you, that Newsom will replace Biden on the ticket. Man, so yesterday, I took things a little bit easier yesterday because I felt like I was burnt out on Wednesday, so I didn't get into like all the Python stuff and everything. So I had a couple of errands to do. Like I had to go to the DMV because the sticker, I think I lost the sticker. I don't think it got stolen. I think I just lost it. Probably gonna like find it in the paper here one of these days and be like, oh, there it is. But it was only $5. I just had to go down and get it. And I was by the fancy store, so I went to the fancy store, and I was going by and I saw creme fraiche, and they never have that at the regular stores that I go to. So I'm like, oh, yes, I've heard of this. I remember there was a video I watched with Gordon Ramsay saying that it makes the best eggs. So, I bought it and I put it in my eggs this morning, and you know what? It was really good. It did make my eggs like super fluffy and light, and it tasted good, and it didn't make them sour. The creme fraiche is sour. It's not sour cream, but it is sour. But I didn't taste sour in my eggs, but it does leave an aftertaste, and I can still kind of taste that rich sour taste in my mouth. So if you see me going weird, doing weird stuff, that's what about. Well, now one thing I should also bring up in relation to the whole debate last night is that I don't think I have a super good handle at the moment about how the public is reacting to this. Part of it is that it's just so early in the cycle, and this is extremely bizarre that we're so early in the cycle. But then the other thing was that like Reddit was experiencing problems. Every thread about this, like you couldn't even view the comments because they were getting so much activity, like their system just completely shut down, and it wasn't pulling comments. So let me go back here. Did I miss? The issue you have is cult Democrats that will only vote Democrat. We are making progress, but we have multiple generations to turn that mentality around. Okay, so that's a good point, Brad. You are identifying a real trend that people have noticed, that Americans are becoming less and less and less party loyalists. And that like what you believe, what your party is, has a lot less to do with like where you live and what your race is and so forth, more less than it does like what your actual lifestyle is. So like one example of this phenomenon is like, why are more and more blacks starting to vote Republican, or starting to, you know, like Donald Trump's support among blacks is stronger than it was last time, and Biden's support is completely collapsing. And you know, why is that? Because blacks used to be the most consistent about voting Democrat. Well, what's happening now is that they don't view it as like, oh, I'm a traitor to my race or something like that if I vote a Republican. Instead, they're voting the way that their friends vote. So like, if all of your friends are Republican, you end up being a black Republican. And that's happening more and more and more in society, but it's not quite there, right? You still have especially baby boomers and so forth. So that's a shift. But in terms of like what happens for this election, I don't know if it's relevant. Like the damage that is done just from this whole trying to shove Joe Biden across the finish line and it blowing up in their face is gonna hurt the Democrat ticket so badly that I'm really not sure there's anybody that you can select that would be able to really beat Donald Trump and the Democrat Party. Now, Octavia says Dems should have just let Kennedy run. No, because Kennedy had a worm in his brain and has a lot of crazy ideas. Then, and you fight crazy with crazy. Not saying that Donald Trump is crazy, but I'm just saying, like, if you were a Democrat, I don't think most of us are, but, you know, if you're a Democrat, I don't think that one really makes sense. I think that there would be some pretty big... So like, if this continues to go on, and it's like, okay, Joe Biden drops out, so now we have to go into convention with the primary and everything, and now Kennedy is the front runner because he actually has some delegates or something like that, right? I think that there are people in the Democrat Party that would start pulling strings and everything to prevent him from being the nominee. RFK is too critical of vaccines, too many Redditors and Democrats stuck in COVID hysteria. That'd be a big miss, yeah. No, you're totally right, though. It is like the vaccine thing. It is a huge deal in people's minds still. Like, everybody is still kind of triggered by it. It was funny, we were having this thing the other day. There's somebody in the neighborhood who their son-in-law died, and you know, I just knew that there was things going on, but my wife, she's in the girl groups and all of that sort of stuff, the people in the neighborhood, so she knows like the full story. She was telling me the full story. And like, apparently he had been having a lot of weird health problems. Like, he had blood clots and everything, but he was relatively healthy, and he went to the gym and had a heart attack outside. Somebody found him collapsed on the floor. Boy. And my first thought was, oh, did he take the vaccine? Because everything about that sounded like negative side effects from the vaccine. And at this point, we do know, I mean, like, it is basically fact that there are some side effects from the vaccine. I'm not going to say that it's like you shouldn't take the vaccine because of those side effects. And those side effects are things that you can get from COVID itself. Okay, and probably worse if you just get COVID. So supposedly the vaccine is not as bad, but like, it still has negative side effects, and everybody's still kind of like really triggered by it. But there's people on the other side that are really triggered by it that are like, you know, we should force everybody to take the vaccine. My brother-in-law got pericarditis right after it. Well, that's why I didn't take the vaccine. I didn't take it. Should I not admit that? No, but it's the truth. I have So first of all, I have an extremely overactive immune system. So I am allergic to practically everything. And I have gut health issues, which is also immune system disorder. So I've got ulcerative colitis / inflammatory bowel disease. And then on top of that, I am on serotonin reuptake inhibitors and Aderall. So that kind of leads me to have a slightly higher than normal resting blood pressure. And I'm extremely active. I do Olympic weightlifting, which is, you know, very, very... it gets your heart rate going, okay? And more so than like regular weightlifting does, right? So when I heard that, you know, it caused myocarditis and all of these sorts of things, I said, I think that I'm particularly vulnerable to that and I should not take the vaccine. Because if it was like available to everybody from day one, I probably would have done it. But by the time it was available to us, that information was out, and I was like, I don't think that I should take it. But like I said, at that point I had already caught COVID. That's another thing, is I was like, well, I kind of already have COVID immunity, and you know what? Like, COVID did screw me up. I think it's only been recently that I've been able to get in like a full cycle that I felt good about, and now it's like old age, and like I'm having issues with my shoulder, or not my shoulder, my elbow. We'll see. I think that those sorts of things take 6 weeks to heal, so we'll see if my shoulder is better in 6 weeks, but it still hurts. So I may be past my peak. That might have been my last chance to get like PRs and stuff, and I didn't, and now I'm too old and they'll always be lower. So like COVID did hit me hard. They should run the Hawk book. You know what? I honestly, I don't understand why that became so viral. It's kind of weird to me. Like, it's funny, but it's not that funny. But good grief, TikTok just absolutely loves it. Yeah, it started out for me just not being interested because I never get flu shots. And then it turned into outright resistance. Oh, dude, I always get the flu shot. And then in January, February, everybody else in the house will be sick. And I'll be like, you've got the flu. You've got the flu. It's because you didn't take the flu shot. And my wife doesn't think that that's what it is. Because it's not that she doesn't want to take the flu shot, but it's just like, for me, they do it to you at work, so it's okay, fine. But for her, you know, it's more work to go out and do it, and I'm like, you need to do that, and she's like, yeah, I probably should, and she never does, right? I would always get the flu shot, and I felt like help. I almost always get sick, like during the winter now, though. It used to be. I remember the early days of this stream bragging that like I never get sick. Well, I'm doing pretty good now because it's been since February. But I have like a perpetual gravelly throat now because of allergies. So I've seen some progress in like understanding why certain mast cells become overactivated and how immune system problems happen, and how the liver can help regulate things in a way so that that doesn't happen, or so that you can potentially reset your immune system. So maybe someday before I die, we'll be able to resolve my issues, but good grief. Sometimes it's rough for me. I smoked my way through COVID, lost my smell and taste for, yeah. You know, my wife still kind of complains about taste a little bit, I think. I think it permanently changed her taste buds to some extent. She used to love Dr. Pepper and drink way too much Dr. Pepper and be like, you shouldn't really drink the caffeine. That's not going to be good for you if you're trying to lose weight and everything. And then COVID came and she didn't like the taste of it anymore. So, but that didn't help because now she just drinks Red Bull. I'm like, stop buying Red Bull. It'll come in the mail. She orders it in the mail for some reason. Come on, and she's like, oh, I don't really drink it. Okay, but you just got a whole case of it. So, like, obviously you are just drinking it. Wondering if I should hold into PMI? Well, so it kind of depends. We did our research about that yesterday, right? So technically, you overall make more money if you hold through the news. But your Sharpe ratio will be lower. So basically, like, who knows if you'll make or lose money off of it, but there will be huge volatility in your returns if you try and hold it through the news. But how? Super, super important. Let's not forget this one. Chicago PMI is released to subscribers 3 minutes early. So you will see the move at 9:42, not 9:45. My goodness, you drink the worst thing ever and you don't even go get it. At least the landscaper who pounded Red Bulls has a counterweight. So funny, yes. And then the thing that really annoys me, that I find the most annoying, is that my toddlers want to drink it. So like, okay, fine, I'll let you have a sip. And That's like the big pet peeve in my house, is that when I was a kid, we never had soda in the house. Never. Juice, nothing. You had milk and water. And given everything that I know about health and nutrition and everything, that's the way that it should be. I think that I avoided a lot of the health problems that other people have because we were not allowed to have soda, and we did not have white bread. It was always wheat bread. And that's the way that I think it should be, but that was not the way that it was in my wife's house, and she has already ruined them. And they don't like to drink water. They want to drink soda. So at least we got them to, oh, let's drink root beer instead of Dr. Pepper, but sometimes when she comes home from the store and I see that, I want to just go out the back window and just throw it as hard as I can and watch it explode. It makes me so mad. But anyways, that was probably a buzzkill. There's a big iceberg there at 14.5, by the way. Really, also, a lot of volume through 13 to 14. One Dr. Pepper every few days, water, and a little coffee. Just water for me. The main reason why I've been later to the stream and I'm getting here more at like 8:30 instead of 8:20 is because I've been trying to eat better. Have a bran muffin and some eggs, and you gotta cook the eggs. And but you know what? It's been helping me. I think it's been better. The biggest limiting factor now is what do I have for lunch? Because a lot of the time lunch is like leftovers, and a lot of the time leftovers is like rice and something else. And rice is not good. Rice seems to spike my blood sugar too high, and if I eat something with rice in it, then usually by the time we get to my workout, I'm like spent. Like my body has already burned it all. So it has to be like black rice or anyways. I really like it's so weird to me to be like this guy, okay? But I have become like that yuppie hyper nutritionalist, you know, like will only shop at Whole Foods and everything is a salad, right? But it is like, I want a salad. It bothers me when I go to restaurants and stuff, like fast food restaurants in particular, and they have salads, but they don't have like real salads. You know, like a salad with like rice and grains in it, so that you actually are getting carbohydrates and calories in it. But that's what I like now. And then I spend a really long time eating it because I chew it up extra fine. But that makes me feel great. It's good, the magnesium and all of the multivitamins that you get from that. Like, you can take a multivitamin, but your body just does not absorb it in the same way as when you're getting it from a plant. My poison is tea. Ugh. So all I can think of with tea is when I worked for the bank, there was this one guy on the team that nobody really liked, and he was your stereotypical Chinese guy trying to climb the hierarchy sort of a guy. You know what I'm talking about? Like, just a very, very derogatory towards everybody else, and acts like he's destined to rule over everybody, but everybody just despises him. And yeah, he got fired, but he had this mug. He had this mug that he would drink tea in every day. And over time, the mug starts to develop like this crust. It's so disgusting. And so that guy just always had that mug of tea. That disgusting, disgusting mug. When he got fired, you know, you pack up all your stuff. This is why the calculator over there on that shelf behind me means so much to me, because like my boss, he liked me. There were certain things going on outside of our control that led to me getting let go. He didn't want to let me go. He told me that. And when you get let go, they put all of your belongings together and they ship it to you, right? So and I'm watching him pack up this guy who got fired his things. He didn't just get laid off. He just got straight up fired, like they were just fed up with him. Because he was such an a-hole. And he threw the mug away. Like, he packed all of the other stuff except for the mug. He threw the mug away. Threw the mug away. But then, when they packed up all of my stuff, they gave me all of these things that they weren't supposed to give me. Like, things that were like supplies and stuff from the company that should have stayed at the company. Like the calculator. They gave it to me. So that's why the calculator means so much to me. Did you see the leaves? Like, the leaves were in the cup visible? No, it was like a mineral deposit on the side of the mug. It wasn't plant, it was like rock hard. Stained into the cup. It was like a stain in the cup. Like, you take the cup and you wash it. Even if you wash it, it doesn't come out. It's a stain. Yeah, it was so gross. That's what I think of when I think tea. Every once in a while, I'll be having an issue. I'm starting to cough a little bit because I got this allergy and now my throat never seems clear anymore. So you think about it, and yeah. Anyways, so I'll get like a ginger tea, for instance, right? And I'll drink it, and I was like, well, okay, I can see the water is definitely clearly changed color. And like, the water definitely has a taste, but like, it's not enough of a taste to be anything. Like, yuck. I don't like it at all. It's just like this weird water stuff. So I don't get tea. But that's herbal tea, so maybe real tea is a different thing. man, the S&P 500 is just super unhappy this morning. It's been on the downside ever since the economic news that we got when the yields moved higher a little bit. And now since they've opened, they've kind of been on the downside too. Thinking about what I'm doing today now. Well, my wife has a couple of things that she wants to do, so I think that we're gonna help her do those things first, and then we'll see. Will I have some time to work through Python here or write a video? Maybe, but I'm not gonna be super set, because even if I get the time, there will be the 4th of July. I don't have the older kids for the 4th of July. I'm going to take the Friday off after the 4th of July off as well. And then later in July, I'm going to take a week off. I won't be streaming that week. I'll have time to do that stuff then as well. And it's only one major thing that I'm really trying to work through. It could be with something that, like, you know, I get the breakthrough and I get it to work and then I'm done. So I don't really have to worry about it today. I should worry about she has to make a craft because they want to know if they're going to do this craft for a church thing. So she has to do it and test the craft out. So gotta go to the craft store and get that and yada yada yada. Yeah, let's do that first, and then doesn't matter if I get anything done today. Probably just going to reverse at end of day and finish the week unchanged. You know, that would be pretty wild. They are starting to build a little bit of a rally here. And there's significant volume behind it as well. So maybe as soon as I start to mention that, the S&P is already turning. Gold does not look happy. What's with that? Oh, I'm seeing some strength come into the dollar. It must be that. Yeah. So all of the month end, yeah, you know what? I totally forgot. We should put this on our thing. This is super important. Month end flows. This is the last trading day of the month, right? Monday is the 1st. So this is the last trading day of the month, and all of the month end models suggest dollar strength. So it must be, you know, dollar strength is coming in here now, and they're selling gold and everything else. Although I would say that the Japanese yen also is looking fairly okay so far this morning. You know, we didn't really go into the charts. Let's do that real quick, yeah? So here you got ZN. They came in yesterday to the bottom end of the range. We got a decent move up that I was able to catch some of. Overnight, we pulled back a little bit, but then that news sent us a little bit higher. There's still a long ways to go until we're at the other end of the range, so they could continue to move up probably. Like, who knows how strong those flows will be. Here's the S&P 500. Past 2 days, a little bit of a rally after this pullback and everything. But, you know, this a little concerning. So we'll see how that works out in the equities. Oil having a little bit of a jump there. Little bit of a jump. Doesn't look like necessarily it's going to continue through. You know, and like get the momentum started again, but it's something. It's something. Here's gold and silver, so you can see, well, there's a little bit of selling in gold right now. It's not like too much damage though, so I don't know if that's like a huge deal. Kappa. A little bit of a bounce, but still looking pretty awful. And then the Japanese yen. So the Japanese yen is a little bit above some of the worst levels. Oh, you know what? I forgot that there was like inflation numbers overnight. But maybe the Japanese yen staging a little bit of a turnaround. And then you got Bitcoin. Bitcoin's still just kind of middling after that huge downturn that they had from selling from governments. Let's see here. I saw Goldman and JP Morgan reports on pension fund rebalance were quite different from each other. JP Morgan was saying around 30 billion of equities to sell. Well, now that's really, really interesting, because I cannot imagine how it wouldn't be equities to sell. Like the risk parity almost certainly has to be sell equities, buy treasuries. But I don't think that it will be nearly as big. Yeah, okay. So GS said 11 billion. Yeah. So it is no matter what, I think it is sell equities and buy treasuries, but how much of it is a big wild card in my mind. Because both treasuries and equities were up. Treasuries weren't nearly as crazy as equities, so that's why they're going to have to sell equities and buy treasuries. But, you know, how big that flow will be is unclear. So that brings me back to like my synopsis of flows. Probably we have a slow follow up, but it's probably going to be stop and go because there's a lot of news this morning, right? And probably, by the way, another thing is that I find that, you know, like if we have a really strong month end flow, that they don't like to do it before the news. Like they wait for the news to be completed and all of that, and then they start executing. So it's entirely possible you could see something like University of Michigan sentiment comes out and it's really bad. Like inflation expectation is much stronger than anticipated or something, and you get a temporary sell. And then once that temporary sell is over, then the meta orders start coming in and pushing us up, right? Or sometimes it's just all right at the close. Like you tend to see really crazy stuff going into the close on days like this. So let's see what happens. I can still taste that creme fraiche in my mouth, but I quite liked it. It's not like a bad taste. It's just kind of weird. It's kind of weird. It has a unique flavor. I can't describe it. I've never had anything like it. What else can I make with creme fraiche? Here we go. 12 ways to use creme fraiche. Oh, look, it's exactly the brand that I bought. I'm not going to show you the screen, but for any of you who are new to the benefits of creme fraiche, welcome. We're so glad you're here. You are about to enter into a delicious world of flavor and versatile recipe potential. I feel so privileged, guys. Creme fraiche is a rich cultured cow's cream with a thick, creamy texture and a slightly tart, nutty flavor. Creme fraiche will enhance any recipe that calls for sour cream. The rich taste and unique cooking advantages of creme fraiche will bring depth and flavor and a smooth texture to dips, baked goods, soups, and finishing sauces. One major benefit to creme fraiche is because it has a higher butterfat content, it won't curdle or break when added to something at a higher heat, or that is acidic. It's truly an everyday kitchen staple and is delightful added to sweet or savory dishes. It's good for baking in cakes or lightly sweetening and topping slices of pie. Its food BFF may be the potato, but we'd also add a spoonful to soup, stews, pasta, or even salad dressing. So, how versatile is this ingredient? Here's our 12 favorite ways. Okay, put it on a pie. Put it in a dip. Do it with eggs. I enjoyed it in eggs. I did. With potatoes. To frost a cake. Add it into your frosting. Okay. With fish. Creme fraiche is a great addition to fish because it won't curdle or separate when cooked at a higher heat. In salad dressing. Okay, with chocolate. Looking for cake. With your greens. Well, now I want to make a cake with it. Ice cream. Okay, that's weird. Okay, so you see right there, 742, that was the Chicago PMI. I should go into my news thing and change the time for the PMI from 745 to 42. Okay, so the PMI must have been hot because they sold on that. Didn't they? They really sold on that. So now the issue is that in about 18 minutes or so, we get the University of Michigan consumer sentiment and inflation expectations, and that's a relatively major news event as well. After that, I wouldn't expect that any of those flows would be so dominant that they would dominate the rest of the session. So after that, probably the end of month flows become dominant, and that's probably a buy. So seeing the PMIs be a sell there is kind of helps us, right? Like it gives you a better chance to try and take a long off of this, because I think I wouldn't want to take a trade like right now. But you know, I'm kind of hoping that the other news that we get today is also a sell, and that I can buy it for month end in politics. Okay, so oh my, I haven't read the Discord comments. Daily Show. Trump just released a brutal 95-second ad of Joe Biden's debate performance. Let's watch it. Political propaganda brought to you.
Folks, how are you? Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare,
Trump's face is so funny to me.
Housing for Black Americans, the impact on the choice, the idea that they're
47 spot 4, 47 spot 4, Highland forecast 40.
Oh, that was the Chicago PMI. Hold on just one second. 47 spot 4 versus 40. Yeah, that was much. It's still in contraction, but not. Yeah, okay.
Posting that everybody, they pay, the millionaires pay 1%. 1%. So no one after, I've not raised the cost of Social Security for anybody. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. And wants to get away with, get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
Dude, when you put all of his foibles and everything together, it really is like, it seems so extreme. When I was watching it, it was not that. I did not expect the Democrats to be like full on panic when I, started looking around. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't add that in there. There gets a point where Trump says, listen, I don't know what he said, and I don't think he knows what he said. That's not the first time in a debate he's told Joe that either, by the way. Man, I just want to read about the debate. Well, shall we browse around the internet a little bit and see what they're saying? By the way, they've already recovered the dip from the Chicago PMI. Should I be long the Treasury? Well, listen, we can do it with the sim order. I'm not really feeling a live trade at the moment, to be honest. At least, well, certainly not going into the news. Actually, it's no. Okay, so for a scalp, there's not enough activity. So let's wait. I'm gonna take one. Not even a sim trade. So let's go to like my favorite conservative political blogs and see what they say. A 90-minute cheap fake. Oh my gosh. Okay, so one of the things that was going on was that when Joe Biden was in Europe and some of these other trips, there was a lot of videos of him just looking like completely lost. And the White House spokesperson was saying that these were like cheap fakes. Which, no, they were not. But, she was kind of playing fast and loose with things to say, oh, some of this is fake. And use that to, like, call all of it fake. And so now they're harping on that. Like, oh, look, we all just saw the debate. Are you going to call the debate a deep fake now, too? Okay, now we're getting a little bit of clicky over here in the S&P 500. Not a whole lot over there yet. I guess it's too early in the morning. They haven't released all their stories yet, but let's read this one. The Atlantic, time to go, Joe. Biden needs to step aside for the sake of his own dignity, for the good of his party, and for the future of this country. Yeah, probably. Yesterday morning, I predicted the debate would be a nothing burger, but I ended my post previewing the debate with these words. I'm always wrong when it comes to political predictions. Perhaps Biden really will implode. Thank God I was wrong. Joe Biden imploded. It was a hydrogen bomb-sized explosion. The Tsar bomb of debate performances from Joe Biden. From David Strum. Okay. I was very, very wrong yesterday. And thank goodness Joe Biden is done either soon or on November 5th. Joe Biden called for a summer debate to remind voters of Trump's extremism. Instead, he showcased his own senility, and there's no way to be polite. This wasn't a debate, it was a medical emergency. The president, resembling an animated corpse, his voice so weak, it sounded like the whisper of leaves around an ancient tomb. Never mind, will he last 4 years? The audience wasn't sure he'd last 90 minutes.
Forecast 3.1% on the prior 3.1%. Expectations final forecast.
Another comment from my focus group of undecided voters. The expectations tonight for Biden were to just show up and look alive, and he blew it. That's from Frank Luntz. I almost didn't watch the debate because it would be even less interesting than most debates. Boy, was I wrong. I was glued to the TV set from the moment that Joe Biden shuffled onto the stage until the last moment that Donald Trump made his so-so final pitch. Overall, Trump did extremely well. This is the candidate he should have always been. He had his less disciplined moments, but he was everything Biden was not. He was in control, appeared strong, made mostly good points, and nobody gave nobody any reason to doubt that he is tanned, rested, and ready to go back into the Oval Office. Hold up. He says you found a Paul Rotter PDF. Oh, I gotta see this. I gotta see this. What is this? Is Paul Rotter a devious market machinator or a victim of his own success? The biggest trader on the Eurex and the most controversial man in electronic trading speaks out. Oh, I think I've read this before, actually. Yeah. Monkey who couldn't come from, I don't. Actually, maybe I would have saved this, but let's save it into my thing of stuff. Q. Okay, anyways. 5 seconds into Biden's appearance, I knew the debate would likely be disastrous for him. He looked awful and it went downhill from there. All he needed to do was look alive and he failed to do that. He was a reanimated corpse. Joy Reid, my phone never really stopped buzzing throughout. The universal reaction was approaching panic. I was correct that the debate was not about substance but feelings. What I was wrong about was that Biden could muster 90 minutes of appearing sentient and provide the absolute minimum necessary to reassure his own voters and Trump haters that he is a viable candidate. Instead, Biden did the opposite. He managed to convince tens of millions of people, including almost every Democrat and mainstream media figure, that he is incapable of doing the job. Democrats are not just panicked. They admit that they are panicked, which is remarkable. I have never seen anything like it. I agree. This is why it's going to be endless conspiracy theories about this, right? That they were all planning, that either the plan was all along was to replace Biden at some point, or that they intentionally set him up. I don't think that really makes sense to me, given the circumstances, but there was definitely people in the Democrat Party that were concerned about Joe Biden and already had contingency plans in place and started making the calls, man, because it is full on, we need to replace him. And that's just absolutely stunning to me. I thought, even when I was thinking about what could happen in this debate and what if Joe Biden's debate performance is super, super bad, I never imagined that the Democrat Party would all at once just be completely, let's replace him. Before the debate was even over. It's really stunning. So this is a unique moment in American politics that we're never going to forget. This is when you're 90 years old and your great-grandchildren are going to be like, Grandpa, were you there when Joe Biden totally blew the debate and got replaced as the Democrat nominee for president? We called it and we're still surprised by the outcomes, right? I didn't think that Joe Biden would look very good in the debate, but I didn't think it was going to be that bad. Because what happens is we're used to reality being so wild, and we're used to seeing, our predictions actually being true and then it not mattering. That's happened so much in politics now that for
At 10 Eastern time, we get university.
Everybody's worst fears / greatest dreams come true, and it's you don't even believe what you're seeing with your own eyes.
76 to 64, spot 9.
And the Democrats really are in effing shambles right now.
2% from the prior 3.
I think the moment that I knew that
1%
they were panicking
1%
was after I got off the debate and I went on Reddit, and the second thread I went and read was the politics thread, and everything in the politics thread was just salt. Oh my gosh. If you own salt futures right now, I sure hope you already sold them. I hope that you weren't holding a long salt position going into the debates, because my goodness, it was one of the saltiest threads in r/politics I've ever seen. On par, if not worse, than when Donald Trump won the election against Hillary. All the way down to my social network appeals. I haven't even looked at Facebook yet. I still visit Facebook probably once a day, and I hate it. But there's reasons to do it. Let's see here. That debate was painful. I wish I could laugh about it, but crying is more likely. 9 comments. Me too. Wow, you're right. I'm not seeing that much about it though. Maybe later today I will. Oh boy. Oh, it was already passed. I totally missed it. My wife sent me an event invite that was like happening in our local city that I didn't know about. That's somebody's house. Sounds like something I should do. Oh, I can't see who was interested that weren't friends, so. Oh, it's hosted by the city. Well, that's interesting. I didn't mean via Facebook. I meant via people I know on Facebook. It sends to throw out a political post outside of groups. It was so bad that everyone forgot Trump was supposed to announce his VP. Was he really? Wait, was he really? I didn't know that. I just watched old video on yields looking to trade the 10-year. What causes them to move? Well, it changes every day, my friend. But if you come here and you watch, I'll tell you things that I'm looking at least. But here are the things today that I'm looking at. We had a
1 minute remaining.
core
I'll lead with the
PCE.
University of Michigan.
That was a really big
final.
data point. It was in line. That's kind of gives a little bit of a boost because some people were concerned that that number would be high and were hedging for it. Personal income was higher than expected, but consumer spending was lower than expected, suggesting a slowdown in the economy. So that also seems to be causing the treasuries to buy a little bit because basically the chances of a recession happening are higher, and that would be increase the chances of yield cuts, right? Then we had Chicago PMI. That was hotter than anticipated. It was still in contraction, but it was hotter than anticipated. So that pushed the treasuries down a little bit, but only briefly. Then here in 15 seconds, we're going to get the University of Michigan sentiment and inflation expectations. We also have some Fed speakers, end of month flows, and there was a debate last night, and that's going to be affecting some flows too. So let's see what we get here for this news. Okay, so they're buying. Okay, the 1-year inflation is 3 versus 3.2, and the 5-year inflation is 3 versus 3.1. So the inflation expectations were all lower than expected.
5-year
and the sentiment was slightly higher than expected, 68.2 versus 66. So that is probably a slight buy to the treasuries, but it doesn't look like there was like a knee-jerk reaction higher, but there doesn't seem to be leading to too many flows here. Okay, so now from here, I think that the end of month flows, which are going to be selling equities and buying treasuries, probably dominant from here on out. So I think that from here we could probably take a long at 14. The problem is going to be that it's going to be really slow. Like I have an hour here to make a trade. I don't know if I took it at 14. I don't know if I would get 10 ticks on the micro. So I don't think I'm going to take a trade because I don't think that there's enough in it for me. But if I was going to hold it till past the close, till past the equities close,
the University of
I think that
June final report
long could potentially make sense. I'm not recommending anybody to take a trade because I don't know like your financial circumstances and everything, but my prediction is that the flows will tend to be slightly in favor of the longs going out from here. Okay, so we were reading that story. Should I finish reading that story? Democrats are not just panicked, they admit that they are panicked, which is remarkable. I have never seen anything like it. Democrats, who have defended the president for months against his doubters, including members of his own administration, traded frenzied phone calls and text messages within the minutes of the start of the debate, as it became clear that Mr. Biden was not at his sharpest. Some took to social media to express shock at his troubles, while others privately discussed among themselves what it would mean for the party and whether it was too late to persuade the president to step aside in favor of a younger candidate. Biden is about to face a crescendo of calls to step aside, said a veteran Democratic strategist who has staunchly backed Mr. Biden publicly. Joe had a deep well of affection among Democrats. It has run dry. Parties exist to win, this Democrat continued. The man on the stage with Trump cannot win. The fear of Trump stifled criticism of Biden. Now that same fear is going to fuel calls for him to step down. Ouch. Democrats have several problems now. The first is to decide whether they will beg Biden to step down, which is quite a big ask. It is so unsurprising that the entire left-wing media is now laying the groundwork for Joe Biden's replacement. Since when did CNN anchors and commentators say things like this? It is insane. Then, if they decide to make the attempt, figuring out who, how, when, and what they will offer to Biden and his wife is the next problem. Yeah, trying to convince his wife is probably a big part of it too, because I think she was a major factor in pushing it. And it's not like everybody in the Democrat National Committee would agree on who would put on the ticket. It would be a feeding frenzy. The frenzy has already begun, in fact. Democrats are so panicked over Joe Biden's faltering debate. Okay, hold on a second. I'm seeing an opportunity for a sim trade here, so I'm going to take it. I'm going to play the games here just a little bit. All right. 3 strategists close to 3 potential Democratic presidential candidates and granted anonymity to speak freely said they had been bombarded with text messages throughout the debate. One advertiser said they received pleas for their candidate to step forward as an alternative to Biden. Another advisor said they had taken no less than half a dozen key donors texting disaster and the party needs to do something, but acknowledged that not much is possible unless Biden step aside. One major Democratic donor and Biden supporter who spoke on condition of anonymity said it was time for the president to end his campaign. The person described Biden's night as the worst performance in history and said Biden was so bad that no one will pay attention to Trump's lies. Biden needs to jump out, no question about it, the donor said in a text message, proposing an alternate ticket led by the governors of Maryland and Michigan. See what I mean? The body is still warm and the kids are fighting over the inheritance. Oof. Well, Octavius scratched it there. We're certainly getting some downside movement here. I'm not seeing it really in the flows, but I am seeing the Japanese yen take a little bit of a dip here. So looks like for me that I'm okay for now. I'm a little bit nervous about it, but it is a sim trade, so I don't need to stress about it too much. Not only is it difficult to come up with who would be the best replacement, except for Michelle Obama, who keeps saying she doesn't want to be president. This is gonna be so funny if it does end up being Michelle Obama. It really will be a little bit amusing to me if that's what ends up happening. But it would be difficult to get anybody who wants to be president to step aside. Oh, it would be difficult to get everybody who wants to be president to step aside. I see what they're saying. So they're saying, like, not only is the problem, like, who would be the best replacement, but there's so many people that want to be the replacement and they aren't going to go quietly. So it's going to be like a all-out brawl to find out, you know, who it's going to be. I find this big order at 13.5 a little suspicious. That's a big order in a weird spot. They're not hitting it, though. No doubt Barack Obama would love to live in the White House again, but if Michelle says no, then a feeding frenzy would be almost inevitable. Newsom, Whitmer, Buttigieg, the phone lines and donors and delegates would be red hot. If you are Joe Biden, is this how you want to go out? Biden is convinced that he is a world historic figure, and if he leaves now, he will be remembered as the failure who pooped the bed in front of 100 million people. Worse, he will have lost the debate to Donald Trump. Yeah. Ed Morrissey, tonight's utter debacle will infuriate those who believed Dems claiming that, as one panelist put it, that Biden was privately doing handstands while doing trigonometry and solving all the world's problems. And this was on 9 days rest. Yeah, that was the thing I remember saying to my wife last night after the debate was like, they spent the whole week preparing and that was the best he could muster. Like after the debate, they were saying, the reason Joe Biden did so poorly is because he's been feeling sick the past week. But even if he was sick, that was just a disaster of a performance. Okay, well, this is interesting. So I am seeing some selling in the 30-year. Actually, all of them are starting to turn down a little bit now. The Japanese yen is not doing so hot, and the dollar is still continuing to push. The S&P 500 is running right now. I'm not quite sure what the impetus is here, but I think that this sim trade is a bust. So I will take -3. So I was, one of the things that I will do is I will come in and take a few sim trades to see how my feel for the flow is that day. And that just kind of suggests to me that my feel for the flow is not very good at all. And I was hoping, okay, we get a little bit of downside action, we could buy it for end of month flows. Well, I think that kind of ruined that whole scenario for me. Like, I may still end up being right, but I did not like the way that it played out. I don't think that I could take a live trade now. Well, it could be worse. Let's see. I probably don't want to, Like, I could have hung on. How bad could it have gotten? Well, there's another downtick, so I'm gonna be watching 10. That's our inventory cost basis midline for buyers. Anyways, I'm still not done reading this story. Good grief. Biden dropping out would be a West Wing type moment, and in the real world, those moments are vanishingly rare. Everybody has known for months or longer that Biden was not fit to be in office, so fundamentally, The only difference between today and yesterday is that it's impossible to deny except for the most ridiculous of gaslighters. Hosts on MSNBC are very skeptical about a contested convention, but they are having the conversation. Joy Reid brought up them convention math. Someone actually sent me the rules. The rules are circulating. We'll have to see what Karine Jean-Pierre says tomorrow. Yeah, what is the White House spokesperson going to say today? That is going to be wild. Yes, looks happy at the moment, likely for the chance of rates being cut. Well, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure what is driving the equities completely anyways. So the University of Michigan sentiment final was 68.2 versus a expectation of 66 and a previous reading of 65.6. So consumer sentiment being higher than anticipated, that's maybe better. You know, that's maybe good. Maybe they're like, the markets have been concerned about the consumer slowing down, and that's a piece of data that suggests, oh, maybe not. Maybe we're okay. So that might be why they're moving up.
500 and Nasdaq hit record.
The
highs
treasuries
last
are selling
around
off
0
pretty
spot
hard
gains.
there, which I don't think really makes sense. But I am seeing the Japanese yen move down. The dollar is moderating now, so the dollar is pulled back. The treasuries did not. And so the only thing that I really see here that's clear is that they are buying ES and they are selling the 30-year. Okay, we'll see what Karine Jean-Pierre says tomorrow, but it sure looks like Joe Biden has lost his most loyal constituency, the mainstream media. They can cover for him if you see him in snippets, but after 90 minutes of mumbling, stumbling, and looking like a zombie, they have given up. Chris Wallace on CNN, Joe Biden sunk his campaign tonight. I am done predicting anything. We are living in abnormal times with abnormal people in charge. Democrats are in full panic right now, but that doesn't mean they'll have a clear path out of this mess. But for all you people who know that I am always wrong, take heart. I will predict that Joe Biden will win this November. There, I just jinxed him. That's the end of the story. Oh yeah, she's going to disintegrate. You're talking about Jean-Pierre? Yeah. This is going to be a wild one to watch. Okay, there was a little bit of bouncing there in the treasury. Well, let's just keep watching it. Another thing that we should point out is that oil is taking it on the nose here. So far today, it looks like that silver is the biggest winner at 1.47%, which is interesting because, you know, gold was taking a bit of a dive, but I guess was enough gains overnight that silver's doing pretty well. Biggest loser, natural gas, followed by oil, and then wheat and the 30-year. So it is the 30-year that's really getting hammered. I'm seeing steepening in the yield curve. I'm seeing substantial steepening in the yield curve. posting in Discord. This is where it's a team effort, guys. We're gonna have to figure out what this is together, right? For now, I wait and try and understand what's going on. Okay, so let's see here. After the horrendous debate last night, I figured I would log on and scroll through a bunch of posts on Reddit about the debate. However, when I logged in, there were only posts on my personal timeline for the subreddits I actually follow and nothing on the popular or trending tabs. It took me for scrolling on 56 posts before finding any post mentioning the debate. Oh, really? I didn't have any problem finding any of them, but I was having problems like reading any comments. Tony says, I'm new to the channel. Do you stream on it? Basically, yep. Every trading session for the last 6 years? Since 2017. How many years is that? 8 years. And they're all saved here on YouTube, so you can go back and watch them if you want. Okay, well, they are settling down at our line, so let's kind of let them get their bearings and see what they do from here. I'm still not sure I see how that consumer sentiment number would be like a sell the treasuries sort of a thing, but maybe the sentiment looked stronger than it appears from like the initial numbers, right? Any directional bet for the moment? Well, so my prediction for the flows was that we would be kind of stop and go, but that overall we'd be biased to the upside because of the end of month flows being predicted to be positive. But this downturn after the consumer sentiment numbers has me feeling that I don't have a good feel for what's going on right now. So I do think like everything else that I had kind of says I should be buying it at 10. But since I don't know what that downflow was, I'm kind of like hands off for the moment. Do we have anything else? No, there's no more news that I had forgotten about or anything. There is, I think, some Fed speakers later, but that's not until like long after our stream. And by the way, one of the issues we might have to contend with as well is like, okay, if that was a move off of the news and then they kind of settle right here at 10, it might just sit there until the end of the day and then have a move like late in the day. Because I think people are going to want to go to work, go home early. They're going to want to talk at the water cooler, like that sort of a thing. Like one of the narratives I'm just seeing as I'm browsing around here is that people were not able to find the discussion and talk about it last night like they wanted to. So Reddit was having problems. So the best time to trade ZN is between 8 to 11 New York time, basically, yes. So the options pit session, there's still an options pit at the CME. The Treasury options pit session starts at 8:20 Eastern time. Then you get the news at 8:30, right? And then at 11:30 New York time, that is when the London exchange closes. So that's why it's that 8:20 to 11:30 time is like the most active time for the trade. Okay, well, there's 10, but there was a decent iceberg there. I'm not going to take it, but for like what I had planned out today, that was about the best entry I'm possibly going to get. I don't know. Consumer sentiment was better than expected, but I didn't think that it was that big and that it would lead to that, you know. Not like it's a huge move, but like, what, 8 ticks? 10 ticks? I would love an uptick in volatility. Well, by the time when we actually end up getting like an uptick in volatility, you might not like it anymore because it'll be like there's a recession. Oh man, are they gonna fall all the way back down? Okay, so I do have one thing, is that there has been some talk that like Donald Trump winning the election would be positive for the S&P 500 and negative for bonds. And the reason that they're all saying it's negative for bonds is Donald Trump has been pushing the idea of more tariffs. So tariffs is generally speaking an inflationary thing. I don't think that he will actually do it, that it will actually happen that way, but tariffs are generally speaking an inflationary thing. And like inflation could reignite really easily. So that could be a factor in the selling in the treasuries. You know, I'm just trying to think about where I could be wrong about the flows that could be leading to what we're having right now. I think the advantage to the way that we look at the market is that I might not know what's going on at the time, but by the end of the day, I almost always know and can explain why the market moved the way that it did. So, you know, there's a flow out there that maybe I'm just not aware of. Octavius, but you're taking Discord, yeah, but you're just looking at PPOs. Okay, well, MBO punch us down to weekly PPO point of control. Talking about that big 9K that was sitting up there that I was really suspicious of. I don't know. I just 09 is our inventory cost basis, so like kind of an interesting move. It could be that somebody defended it, yeah. That's totally. You know, part of the thing here though is, well, I don't know. So like I'm thinking when it was happening, you know, I'm looking at the treasury and I'm like, okay, like that's a big MBO and everything. I don't like that. I had a sim order on. I decided to hold it for a little bit, but I wasn't seeing the cumulative delta go down. So I puked it like somewhere around here, right? So that was smart. But even now I look at it in the 10-year and I'm like, well, like they're not really selling. Okay. So then I come over to the Japanese yen and I say, well, is it the Japanese yen? Well, the Japanese yen is selling, but not like that hard or anything. So I don't know if it's really actually the Japanese yen. But then I come over to the 30-year, and when I look at it in the 30-year, now I really see very strongly. Strong selling. Strong selling in the 30-year. Come on. Do a good circle. There we go. Really strong selling in the 30-year. So what's really going on here is the yield curve is steepening. The yield curve is steepening. Up is steep, right? So that's what's happening, I think. did somebody come in and defend it at a spot? Well, like it did come up to a key level and a large order came back and it came back to kind of like a neutral zone. So we could view it as that way as well. But like it's kind of hard to justify that particular scenario through flows, right? Because like if that's what happened, why did they do it in the 30-year? Would make more sense to me that somebody put on a really big steepener, both because of the economic news and because the anticipation of Donald Trump being president. If that's the case, and it would matter, because if that's the case, I think you could still see buying later into the session as the end of month flows come through, which are likely to be long. But it could be we're seeing end of month flows right now and they actually are short and all of our models were wrong. You'll know when we get the close though, because there will be tons of volume on the close, the weekly close, monthly close. Okay, so I'm seeing people on Reddit be like that, saying that Reddit is hiding it, but I don't think that that's the case. Shall we see? r/politics. Discussion thread. The debate. No, Jon Stewart can't defend Biden disaster. Biden campaign official, he's not dropping out. Well, that's the most interesting one to me. That's the biggest, development in the story. Well, enjoy the non-stop questions about the 25th Amendment for the next 4 months. Chatter is very distracting and it's going to be very consuming for the campaign, former Biden press secretary Jen Psaki said on MSNBC. Should he be replaced, they're going to be answering that question instead of breaking through on attacking Trump. I don't think he will drop off, but they're obviously not going to say anything else unless and until he does. You can't say, well, it's something he's considering. Well, if he doesn't drop out, there is still another debate scheduled, so I don't, Trump could drop out of that debate, I suppose, but... Uh-oh, look, last night reminded me of that sinking feeling in the 2016 election, so the liberals are already having those PTSD episodes, right? Democrats are effing up by not encouraging, promoting, and training younger members. Our whole society is screwing up, guys. This is a societal problem. Go talk to your dad or other baby boomers that are in charge of things and insist that they guide you on learning this stuff. Don't let them do it. Don't be like, I will watch you. Get opportunities to do it and they can advise you as you're doing it. That's what we need right now. It's time to start passing the torch, man. Because if we don't, we millennials, we don't have enough and clue what we're doing. We don't. Republicans love this news. Axelrod on CNN said the Republican nightmare is that they replaced Joe. Well, I saw Zero Hedge making that case yesterday too, that if Joe Biden did poorly, that would actually be a terrible nightmare for Donald Trump, because then Donald Trump would get a better opponent. But I think it'll hurt the Democrat Party so much that I don't think you can recover. Let's see here. Next week, we'll sell and fill the low volume down to 109.18 and then die for that. Yeah, well, I think that the next week might be quiet and a little difficult for sure. I don't buy into all of these ideas that, like, we're likely to come back to point of controls and all this kind of nonsense. I know that everybody in trading seems to believe them, but I see no empirical evidence that there's such tendencies. Especially when it comes to, like, daily time periods and stuff. I do think that there's something to quote-unquote momentum. So if we were to look at it from the perspective of a momentum swing trader, they're going to look at this range here, break of the range, maybe new range here, and so they should probably expect us to move like this. Except for that we're moving down this morning, so that doesn't really make sense within that premise. Just kind of pointing that out. Biden signals to aides that he would only serve a single term. Yeah, I remember that too. Embarrassed for my country. You know what was the thing that I was kind of like, this is kind of embarrassing for our country? There was this part during the debate where Donald Trump and Joe Biden were arguing about who was the worst president. It's like, you know, this group of scholars, they had a vote and they voted that Donald Trump was the worst president ever. And then Trump is like, well, I have some of these alternative ones that say that something different. And you know, like, it was just kind of like one of those snips. Like, Joe Biden will attack Donald Trump. He's very mean-spirited about it. I think that when Donald Trump attacks Joe Biden, it's usually some sort of a quip and it's funny. But Joe Biden is just kind of like mean-spirited stuff at the end of his comments. Like, almost like he just can't help it or something. And, you know, like, Donald Trump probably should let it go and move on to talking about policy or whatever, but he couldn't handle it. He was not going to let that pass, that Joe Biden say that he was voted as a better president than Trump, right? And so they went back and forth for quite some time about it. I was just like, this is so sad. This is what we're talking about in our debate. Let's see here. Have you come across an issue in NinjaTrader 8 when you load strategy? The instrument under symbol 2 shows an older contract, but in properties, the correct dated contract is selected. No. So let me see if I understand what you're saying. You go into like a well, not a strategy analyzer. The instrument. Not this part right here where you select data series. You're probably talking. Supposed to open up a new chart. And I come over here and I say strategies, and I add my advanced base strategy, which is don't ever explicitly trade this strategy. It's not a profitable strategy, but it has all of the cool little tricks and stuff. Okay, so then you come in here and input series, and I can say, oh, this is supposed to be, oh, why is it on a volume bar? That's interesting. Did I put it? Oh, I did put it on 1000 volume. Okay, whatever. But you're saying that the wrong expiration is put in the input series right there? Well, I don't know, but here's a couple of things that you might want to look at. Make sure, number one, that the main chart is showing the right data series. Okay. Oh, main strategies tab. You mean talking about over here? Perhaps? Because if it's over here, then maybe are you sure that you don't have that strategy running on a different chart? Yeet. Data series, huh? Oh, that's so weird. Enabled, okay. Okay. I don't know, man. It's funny to go and put that on there and see all of the trades that it decides to take. Oh, man. Okay, anyways. I've never had the problem. This is kind of weird. I would maybe try restarting my Ninja Trader. I don't know. That would make me really uncomfortable. I tell you that much. You know what's so something that's going to be interesting is that I'm going to the air show tomorrow. I'm so excited. You know what happened to me? Oh my gosh. Okay. I went to there's this store called Cal Ranch. And it is basically like working class country boy like paradise. It's just like, oh man. And they have, you know, they have tools. Of course, all of the tools are Milwaukee brand tools, and you can buy guns there and all these things. So I'm over there looking for ear protection for the kids, because when you're at an air show, those jets can get pretty loud, and Asher's autistic. He doesn't like that. So having some plugs for him, that would probably be a really good thing, right? And I'm walking by and I see some binoculars on a shelf, and they're like youth binoculars, $70, and I'm like, hey, that's for good. We can use that, and we can watch airplanes, and I'm sure that the toddlers will love to look through that. Okay, so I'm checking out at the counter, and man, the people at that store are always too friendly. The people at that store are too friendly. They probably think I'm fucking weird. I like them, but it's just, I'm kind of like, I don't really do small talk at the checkout counter. I want to get my thing and get out of here. You know, it's not that I don't like you. You guys are nice people. But they see what I got, and they're like, oh man, these guys that you're buying, they have the greatest warranty ever. I had a friend, and he was out hunting with one of their scopes. He saw that there was a scratch on his scope, and so he busted it with a screwdriver. Like, he just went through the glass with a screwdriver and then sent it in, and they replaced it, no questions asked. I'm like, what? Okay, whatever. So I get home and I, put it all together and use the binoculars. And I'm just like, this is effing cool. And I can I'm right next to the mountain, so I can look all over on the mountain and everything. Like, there's stuff for me to look at with the binoculars, right? They're just these cheap binoculars made for kids, but like made by the best binocular company out there. And now I'm obsessed. Now I'm like, I go to their website. What was it? Vortex Optics. Yeah. And I look through here and I'm like, oh, what should I get? What's the best binoculars? Oh man, $2,000. Can you imagine spending $2,000 on binoculars? That's crazy. But like, I kind of do want to spend $3,000 on binoculars because I'm having so much fun with the cheapo ones. Anyways, I don't know why I got onto that rant, but we're going to the air show tomorrow. So there's going to be plenty of people to talk about this debate thing with. I'm sure everybody's going to be talking about it, man. I'm sure everybody's going to be talking about it. Perfection has a price. You know what I need to figure out here? Let's do some research. What do numbers... We're getting, so they did a little bit of a bounce, but they've settled back down to 09, and I'm seeing a lot of clicky over here in the treasuries. In fact, I think that I'm going to come over here and change my filter for ES, because I'm just getting too many of these. See that? It's like 100 at every price, every click. So I'm going to change it. Where did, oh, there it is. Let's change it to 200. Okay. Probably not going to get any. Actually, because they're all 100, well, there's actually 150. Now 200 is fine. They're not going to up it. Binoculars typically have two numbers separated by an X that indicate the magnification power and the size of the objective lens in millimeters. For example, 8 by 42 binoculars, 8 is the magnification power and 42 is the diameter of the objective lens. A longer ratio between the two numbers usually results in a brighter and sharper image. Oh. So 8x is, that's just really, really nice glass then, huh? Huh. Oh, the objective lens is the end of it, so it's a bigger, I see. 30 millimeter, 40 millimeter, greater than 40 millimeter. Oh, I see. So if I come back here and I'm like all binoculars, right? And I only choose the largest objective lens. Yeah. And I get ones with really big ends. 12,550. Oh, that's interesting. How come you didn't get the ones that were like 15? So wait, if I come back, turn that off. Magnification. Oh. There's 12x and there's 15x. All right. Well, that right there, 15 by 56. That kind of sounds like what I want. Binoculars. There you go. Optically punches high above its class. Comes with a built-in harness. Yeah, that's what I need. Walk around everywhere with a little stupid pack on my chest. I'm down, I'm down. You see my problem here, folks? Or I am talking about effing binoculars. Good. It's just still going down, man. Is it? Well, in the 30 year, it's completely retraced. In the 10 year, not quite. They still have a little bit to go. I'm really shocked at this result. Let's come over to Zero Hedge and see if they got stories about any economic news that tells us something that I'm missing. Oh, hey. Oh, SCOTUS overturns Chevron deference in massive blow to administrative state. I've been waiting all week for this. CNN chief correspondent saying Dems urging White House to ask Biden to step down. Career risk traps advisors into taking on excessive risk. That's Joe Biden's last debate ever. It probably, maybe. Oh, I should read about this Tractor Supply Co. thing. I had seen some stuff about that, but the article that I saw before wasn't very good at explaining what was going on, so read that. Nope, Swark. I took a trade yesterday, and I was pretty happy with the trade. I did take a sim trade, thinking here at 14 that we would get along, and like almost as soon as I took it, it started coming down on me, and I bailed. So, well, good job for me getting out at, like, I was -3. So 1, 2, 3 at 12.5. I got out at 12.5. But, ooh, man, I did not expect it to come all the way back to here. Man, and because I was looking for a long. So that happening kind of, like, dashes my whole scenario. Like, my prediction of the flows was wrong. So, no trade, unfortunately. Yeah, now the pushing up, that made sense to me because, you know, that was PCE and the consumer spending and personal income. But this coming down, I'm not so sure about. So I got 3 things to read. Let's read this University of Michigan one. The final print for University of Michigan sentiment survey in June saw sentiment improve over the course of the month and inflation expectations decline further from 3.3 flash to 3.0 final for one-year expectations. But sentiment overall was lower month over month, with headline dropping from 69.1 to 68.2 with a bid drop in current conditions. University of Michigan's Joanne Su notes that while consumers exhibited confidence that inflation will continue to moderate, many expressed concerns about the effect of high prices and weakening incomes on their personal finances. These trends offset the improvements in the short and long-run outlook for business conditions, stemming in part from expectations for softening interest rates. That's reflected in buying conditions crashing across the board. As we detailed here, the University of Michigan data indeed shows that a growing majority are giving up hopes that they'll ever be able to afford the traditional middle-class lifestyle of a car, a home, and eventual retirement. Yes, I love that so some people are like, this is the American dream is dead. That's not the American dream, guys. Get it right. The American dream is that your children will live better than you lived. That's the American dream. That's really the dream of all society, but it is the American dream. And a lot of people have given up on the American dream because they're not even having kids. Okay, but having, you know, a house and a car, that's not the American dream. That is the middle class lifestyle. Some people are giving up on ever achieving the middle class lifestyle. So that was like a you know, to me, that kind of suggests weakness in the economy, right? So wouldn't that be a buy the treasuries? But they sold the treasuries after that. They sold the 30 years super, super hard. And I don't know why. Could have to do with currency flows, could have to do with the election, or a bunch of other different things that are going on. But I'm not 100% sure what was driving that flow.
11 a.m. Eastern time, we get the Fed.
I was wrong, and I was super cautious with my risk and everything, so it's all good. But wow, did you see that, man? Like, I was watching it there. It was down, and then all of a sudden, like, that really just careened down there. So we slipped through the seller cost basis now. So seller's firmly in control now. Let's see here. I missed a couple of comments. Tony, I wish I scalped the micro yield, moved nearly 1% off the lows in like 45 minutes. You think you could have taken it from 426 up to here and made $40 for sure? Could have. Well, I wasn't going to take that trade, but it would have. If anybody caught it, good for you. If anybody knew that flow was coming, and you know, I think that there's going to be a flow, it's going to be sell, and you know, I'd like to hear about it because I don't know what that flow was. Okay, let's read the Tractor Supply story next. Conservative commentator and filmmaker Robbie Starbuck conducted an intense 3-week investigation into Tractor Supply, revealing and sharing on X how the U.S. retailer, known for selling farm goods to rural Americans, has been donating to woke radical leftist causes that do not resonate with its customer base. The retailer, in response, abruptly scrapped its climate targets and diversity, equity, and exclusion fantasies late Thursday, preventing itself from getting Bud Lighted by its customer base. Well, yeah, because you know what? I think that I would rather go to Cow Ranch than to Tractor Supply Co. So there are some things that I would only get at Tractor Supply, but I can get those from other local stores. Not that I live in the country or have any reason to go to those stores, but I do. Because I'm bored sometimes and just need to go places. And there's interesting stuff at the tech store. There's interesting stuff at the country store, okay? I'm not working class. I just cosplay as working class on the weekend. Okay. I don't know. Do I really need to read any more about that? I think that was pretty sufficient explanation of what's going on. That was pretty. I guess the reason that this is a big story is because they turned around so quickly. Okay, now the story. The story I've been waiting all week to read, folks. In a stunning ruling, the Supreme Court has ruled to overturn the so-called, quote, Chevron defense, dealing a huge blow to the administrative state. In a 6-3 decision, along ideological lines, the Supreme Court conservative majority upended a 40-year administrative law precedent that gave agencies across the federal government leeway to interpret ambiguous laws through rulemaking. As the Hill report, judges previously had to defer to agencies in cases where the law is ambiguous. Now judges will substitute their own best interpretation of the law instead of deferring to the agencies, effectively making it easier to overturn regulations that govern a wide-ranging aspects of American life. I tried to add in there because I thought that they were making a mistake in grammar, but then I was wrong. Effectively making it easier to overturn regulations that cover wide-ranging aspects of American life. I don't like the way that sentence. So we should say regulations that cover many wide-ranging aspects of American life. There we go. Now the sentence makes sense to me. Okay, anyways. This includes rules governing toxic chemicals, drugs and medicine, climate change, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrencies, and more. The move hands a major victory to conservative and anti-regulatory interests that have looked to eliminate the president as part of a broader attack on the growing size of the administrative state. The Biden administration defended the president before the high court. Today's ruling is a massive blow to the administrative state, the collection of federal agencies that enforce laws involving the environment, food and drug safety, workers' rights, education, civil liberties, energy policy. The list is nearly endless. The Supreme Court reversal of the Chevron constitutes a major transfer of power from the executive branch to the judiciary, stripping federal agencies of significant discretion to interpret and enforce ambiguous regulations. Good. If the regulation is ambiguous, then let Congress make it not so ambiguous. All you got to do, Congress, is go and make a law, and it's what the law is, whatever it says now, and then that agency can enforce the law in the way that they want. This is turning into something else. What do you think this is, guys? This is, well, the Japanese yen is just careening down here, man. This is like insane. Somebody's selling this. Okay, new theory. The Japanese are selling more treasuries in preparation for currency intervention next week, beginning of the month. They didn't want to do it going into the end of the month with the currency flows, but they will do it next week, and they're selling treasuries to raise funds. It's my new theory. Because that's such an aggressive and striking down move. That's somebody really, really big. Like, that's acting like there's some sort of really big piece of news roiling the markets that I'm missing. Okay. Chief Justice Roberts, writing the opinion of the court, argued Chevron defies the command of the Administrative Procedure Act, which governs federal administrative agencies. He said it requires a court to ignore, not follow, the reading the court would have reached had it exercised its independent judgment as required by the APA. Further, he said it is misguided because agencies have no special competence in resolving statutory ambiguities. Courts do. The liberals on the court are not happy. In dissent, Justice Kagan says the conservative supermajority disdains restraint and grasps for power, making a laughingstock of stare decisis and producing large-scale disruption throughout the entire government. She is both furious and terrified.
Policy report has been rescheduled.
As Stern concludes, hard to overstate the impact of this seismic shift. It is a seismic shift. Straight up, it is a seismic shift. May I ask how old you are? I'm 39. Just barely. My birthday was in May. The decision comes one day after the Supreme Court curtailed federal agencies' use of administrative law judges, on another blow to the administrative state. I also agree with that. Like that in that court case, that guy was defrauding people, but it should go to trial. It shouldn't just be their judges to say. So whatever. Kind of sucks. There's a real issue with that. The court system is just too expensive because, like, there's fraud everywhere, and there's just not, like, we just can't prosecute it all, so the fraudsters get away with it. Okay, well, it's basically time for me to get going. Was there a reason why you were asking how old I was? I was expecting a follow-up there, and I don't want to just like leave you, while you're typing something. So I'm gonna give you like 5 more minutes. And if there's anything else you guys want to say about the debate, I'm still kind of in shock. I'm sure that a lot of us are in shock. It's going to be interesting to see how we all process it through the weekend. But, like, holy crap. Holy crap. And that's, so this thing that I'm just reading here about the Chevron doctrine, that's like a huge change to our government. So I think that the court is making the right decision. But in the meantime, that also means it is just going to completely disrupt all of our regulations and cause complete chaos in the short term. And hopefully Congress is able to step in and be like, okay, like this is good, this is not, But it allowed some pretty stupid, like some of the things was like enforcing carbon targets despite Congress not voting for it, right? That really kills that. It's a good thing overall.
So according to an IFOP poll, left-wing New Popular Front seen getting 170 to 200 seats. Macron's camp seen getting 70 to 100 seats. And the far-right National Party seen leading first round of French Parliament elections with 36.5% of the votes. And the left-wing New Popular Front coalition seen in second place in the French elections with 29% of the votes.
still dropping. It's still dropping. Oh my gosh, it's getting so ugly. The Japanese yen is getting creamed right now, guys. Whew. I don't want to leave because this ain't done here in the treasuries. Well, I'm sure glad that I didn't take any live trades against that flow because this is turning into a monster. This is,
Russia's
you know,
refining
these are the kind of
2022.
these are the kind of events that really tend to irritate me. Like when you have a super strong flow and I had no clue that it was coming. Those ones just drive me crazy. But I guess in this case I'm kind of okay with it. But this is definitely one of those cases where like we're getting on a massive flow short here, and I really have no clue what's driving it. I really have no clue. I at this point I have a hard time believing that it was the consumer sentiment that is doing this. Really looks to me like it's something to do with the Japanese yen that's going on here. So now I've seen the dollar is not completely following it. The dollar's kind of been a little bit all over the place. But something to do with currency flows in the Japanese yen, I think so, probably is. Interesting that there's no trade going on over here in the 30-year. In the 30-year micro, because, you know, you would think if the 30 years getting hit the hardest that the micros would want to participate, but I guess not. Okay, guys, I'm just dragging it on here. I will see you guys on Monday. We can talk more, digest all of this stuff. In the meantime, stay excellent.